Last of Us 2 was one of my most anticipated games of all time, and certainly my most anticipated game of this year. Now, there's been a series of leaks that have come out that have shown a few screenshots and some plot points of the game, and those did get spoiled for me. Somebody definitely went out of their way to make sure that game got spoiled for me. And I will have a reaction to those leaks, but that's not what this video is necessarily exactly about. I want to take a look at why the leaks happened. I want to talk about how the leaks happened, and I want to talk about the internet's reaction to the leaks, as well as Sony's very heavy-handed reaction to those leaks. So these leaks are a couple of weeks old, and I definitely decided to take my time when covering this stuff because I didn't want to report any misinformation. I'm sure the views in this video will suffer because of it. But at first it looked like there was a group of people who believed this to be a disgruntled employee who worked for Naughty Dog. And don't get me wrong, I have heard firsthand from people that work at Naughty Dog that it's an environment that it definitely encourages overworking. And that there are definitely people at Naughty Dog who get hired specifically because they are perfectionists and they will work themselves to near death to try to create a near perfect game. And if you take a look at like Last of Us on the PlayStation 3 or the re-release of it on PlayStation 4, that game is absolutely phenomenal. It looks amazing, it plays amazing, the animation is amazing, everything about it's amazing. So fast forward to Last of Us 2, obviously, they were going to maintain that type of culture. Now, it looks like that's not the case. Sony said they did identify the leaker and that they were going to work against that person. And now we have Stephen Totillo a few days ago saying that hackers are most likely responsible for the Last of Us Part 2 leaks. So you can go ahead and throw away this disgruntled employee thing. Very specifically, it looks like the folks who leaked this information on Twitter said that this stuff probably came from a group of hackers who just found some vulnerabilities in previous Naughty Dog games and was able to discover Naughty Dog's Last of Us 2 materials. He said their circle is just more ND enthusiasts, Naughty Dog enthusiasts, that like development content from their games rather than malicious actors. He said that he really just didn't think that anybody would leak this information, and someone who became aware of that information and became aware of the exploit, possibly through that group, is the people that put that material out there. Their motivation, again, still fully unknown. When it comes to the leaks themselves, I'm not going to repeat that information here. I don't want to spoil it for anybody else, and I definitely am afraid of Sony coming after me and forcing down this video for showing any of that content or talking about that content, because that's what Sony's been doing. But I wanted to offer you my opinion here. From the screenshots I've seen, from the leaks I've seen, this is definitely not the direction I thought this game was going to go in, nor is it the direction I would want this game to go in. Now, I still plan to purchase the game. I still plan to play the game. I still plan to experience it on my own, regardless of the fact that Sony has given me an infinite amount of reasons to not do that. On one hand, Sony absolutely has the right to defend their copyright, and if they want to strike down visual images, if they want to strike down gameplay footage, if they want to strike down just about anything they want to strike down when it comes to the actual game itself, I will reluctantly support that because that is well within their rights, I feel. But when it comes to somebody critiquing those leaks, when it comes to somebody discussing those leaks, even if they're not showing footage, even if they're not showing images, even if they're not showing sound clips, Sony has been striking those types of videos. This type of video, this video could very well get struck down were I to reveal a minor little plot point. And that's absolutely not the right thing to do, and Sony's made a big, big mess of it. We saw, 2K Games do this earlier last year. Now we're seeing Sony do it, and it's never a good look. And I feel their almost draconian efforts here have done more damage than protection at this point. Because first off, the Streisand effect, anytime you try to bury something like this, it just gets shouted out louder. You get the attention of people who want to be in trouble, who like controversy, and they were going to put that information out into the world just to spite you. But then on top of that, you look like the bad guy, Sony. When you try to do this kind of thing, when you strike down YouTube videos that shouldn't be struck down, at least in the court of public opinion, just because the copyright system allows you to do that, just because DMCA laws allow you to do that, it will always make you look like the bad guy. And people who were not going to be turned off by the spoilers are now turned off by your draconian effort. You're just doubling down in the wrong direction when you do this stuff. Now, even though there are some big plot points that got spoiled because of this, and it's definitely stuff that I think could turn off a lot of people from the game, it's pretty obvious that there's still plenty of game left there to be experienced. And Troy Baker, who, by the way, I consider almost a friend at this point because he's been very kind to me over the years, and we've spoken many, many times, and I just genuinely love the guy. He spoke out on Instagram Live, and he had something to say about these leaks.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look, if you think that game could be spoiled by a couple screenshots, you really think that that experience could be undone by a couple screenshots? I think 6 years of development could be undone by that. It's a game. It's a game. You have to experience it. That's all I'll say about that.
And now in this part of the video, I am going to venture a little bit into spoiler territory. So this is your spoiler alert. Hit back if you don't want to be spoiled at all with this game. It's a fairly major plot point I'm about to discuss and critique here, so be warned. You probably don't want to know this going into the game. When it comes to these specific plot points that have been revealed, I think what happens to Joel is probably one of the least of my concerns. As much as I love the character, it makes sense what happens to him. The way it happens is not something I think myself or anybody else approves of. And I think one of the biggest issues here is the character Abby. A lot of people have this sentiment of get woke, go broke. They don't want progressiveness in their game. And when they do have progressiveness in their game, they do not want it to be heavy-handed. And these leaks make it look like it is a very, very heavy-handed approach. Now, I'm still willing to experience the game for myself to find out exactly how heavy-handed it is. I'm open to the idea of trans characters. I'm open to the idea of progressive concepts in my video games. I have no problems with that. It just, to me, always depends on how it's done. I have maintained an opinion over the years that has turned out to be very controversial for some reason that I genuinely cannot understand why it is. I believe that if you're going to put diversity in your works, whether it be any type of media, including video games, that diversity needs to be written well. If you're going to have a trans character, a homosexual character, a character of color, everything surrounding that character needs to be believable. It needs to be realistic. It needs to be well written. It just needs to be good so that the people that are being represented there are being represented in a very good, very healthy, very relatable and lovable light. And when we get this stuff wrong, when we do it heavy-handed, we are setting all of those causes back a tremendous step. You give bigots holes to poke, and they are going to poke those holes. That's just going to happen every time. So when it comes to this character, Abby, that was largely revealed in part because of these leaks, it's not necessarily that she's a trans character that would bother me. It doesn't bother me at all, in fact. I don't care if you put trans people in my video games. I will play the game anyway. It's just necessarily, I don't know that it's been that well written. I definitely do not like the role that they have given this character. I'm not sure that I like that it's a playable character because I know nothing about this character yet. But as it is right now, I think we all would rather have been playing Joel. I think that's just kind of obvious. And I think Naughty Dog knew that. And I think this was a bad design choice there on their part. Now, again, I have not experienced the game. I haven't played it myself, so I don't know for certain whether or not it's poorly written or if it was a bad decision. It might be the best part of the game, and I won't know that until I experience it. But all signs point to no. So to summarize, a lot of people have a lot of good reasons to boycott this game. Obviously, plot points that they didn't want to know going into it has ruined the experience. And then you have people who just don't like specifics of the things that had been revealed to them. They don't necessarily want to play as Abby. They don't want to necessarily see these things happen to Joel. They don't necessarily want the game to go in the direction that it apparently is going to go in. But in my opinion, there's still plenty of games surrounding these in specific plot points, and I really want to get in there, and I want to enjoy the rest of the game to see whether or not those plot points and those design decisions are well written and that they were justified correctly. And while Sony has given plenty of reasons to people who can handle those plot points and can handle those leaks, they've given us plenty of reasons to not buy the game by striking down videos, maybe even this one. And I'll promise you this, I will not buy the game if you strike down this video, Sony. I promise you I will not. But that said, I'm still going to go ahead and support Sony here because at the end of the day, I feel like it's probably just a handful of idiot lawyers doing this and a handful of idiots at Sony making these bad decisions. I want to support the people at Naughty Dog who've worked very, very hard on this game who don't deserve to be punished. I genuinely don't think they should be. And I know there's plenty of people out there who are going to boycott, maybe because of what Sony's done, and I understand and I support that. And you might boycott it because you don't like some of the design decisions and design choices, and I support that and I understand that. But I do want to take a stand here and say that if you're somebody who is just grossed out or freaked out by a trans character in a video game, maybe this is a good game for you to buy and learn to work out problems like that, because that's a silly, silly problem to have. Now, this is all just one man's opinion. I know that I could be wrong, and if I am, you're going to let me know in the comment section below. While you're down there, drop a like at this video or a dislike. Doesn't really matter. YouTube counts as interaction either way. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, do me a favor, consider turning on notifications. That way you can be one of the first people to watch a video when it goes live, and hopefully you can encourage me to make more videos like this one. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.